Hi everyone, we're going to get underway now, so hopefully you can all hear me okay. So my name's Alex, I'm a product specialist here at Adam Matthew, and today we're going to be doing a 45-minute webinar to sort of observe Black History Month, looking at some primary source material. So our first resource is American History. Now this is a flagship American history resource of ours that we developed with the Gilder Lehrman Institute of American History in New York. So the resource covers the early settlers and colonial early sort of Native American encounters in 1493 right through to the end of the Second World War and everything in between, including the Revolutionary or the colonial America, Revolutionary era, slavery and the abolitionist movements, right through to the Civil War, Reconstruction. As well as there's a really nice focus on the westward expansion and the frontier, as well as some more social issues such as women's suffrage and the sexual revolution of women through towards the mid 20th century. So it really is an all-encompassing resource. If you want to ever find out a bit more about the background, you can click into the Introduction tab here. And this is going to give you a nature and scope of all the different material types, where we've sourced the material from, like which folders in the Gilder Lehrman, our policies to do with selection and lack of exclusion of material, everything to do with that, the integrity of the resource. Excuse me, you're going to be able to find here. But let's just get straight into the documents. By the way, I should say I can answer questions at the end. I also have my colleague Laura here with me today. So if you have any some questions about any of the resources, please feel free to put in the chat window throughout, because we can answer them either as we go or at the end. That's not really a problem. So when we click into the Documents tab in American History, we're going to get to this collection level filter. This is because the range of documents is so vast that we have to put in this top level filter. So what we're going to do is we're going to refine by theme. All of our documents have a specific theme attached to them, or multiple themes, and this is so that maybe lower level researchers or undergraduate or high school students can find material, especially if they haven't had that much exposure or experience with primary source collections and how to source and search that material. So we have these key themes that are going to be a great starting place for all levels of student. So I'm going to click into the African Americans theme here. I'm going to apply that, and I want to refine by date as well. So let's just look at, say, 1900 to 1930. Just material from there. Apply that filter. We can also look at individual document types. So all of the document types in this collection, and also the archival sub-collection that it comes from as well. So as well as the sort of core Gilder Lehrman collection, there are other sub-collections as well. As I mentioned, we have a lot of 18th and 19th century material in this resource, which we covered in the first webinar. And we did look at some of those Civil War newspapers and magazines. We also looked at a lot of the sort of abolitionist letters and pamphlets and material around that. So if that's your area of study, I really do encourage you to take a look at that webinar, some of the key documents we pulled out there, and hopefully that will be of use to you. So we've put in our two key filters here, so we're just going to run through that search. Great. So we can see we've refined our documents list with our two filters at the top. Now this is what I was looking for here. So this is the 13th annual report from the NAACP. So 1909 was when the NAACP was formed, and we have some of these early, 1922, and I think this particular run of NAACP reports. I think it extends back to 1918. So sort of 10 years after the formation, and we have these early reports, and they're quite an extensive run as well. So I'm just going to click into the contents page here. Actually, before I do that, I'll just head back for a second just to show you this page we were just on. So we've clicked in from our document refine documents list, and we get to our document details page. This is going to be where all of our metadata is, where we can use the thumbnail viewer just to get around the document quickly. We can also add it to a personal repository, search for a different term within this document, download the full thing to PDF, or just download a specific image range using these buttons here. And then we also have a citation and export tool as well, if you wanted to reference this material in a paper or an essay. There we are. So let's click in and have a look at the contents page for this NAACP report. So we're in the image viewer now. We can drag the page around if we need to. I'm actually going to toggle it full screen using this button. So you can see the contents of this early report here. Very much, the early sort of NAACP had a very much a legislative look, I suppose, on campaigning for civil rights and fought a lot of legal battles, as this report shows. Really, you can see here, a big section based around the anti-lynching bill, and also reporting on, some other, key issues in fighting for equality for African American peoples. We can see some, pretty harrowing issues here. And we can also see the people involved here on the right hand side. So that's the contents page. I just want to move through to another one of the images in this particular document. So we head to page 14. I think it might be the next page. 24 I meant. Sorry about that. Right, we'll head to image 24. So I want to show this. This is one of the earliest reports, or the earliest mention of this, now infamous film appearing in these NAACP reports. But I thought this is the first instance I could find, and I thought it was extremely interesting actually to get their take on something which has really become infamous for sort of civil rights in the early 20th century. So I'll just leave that there for a second so we can have a read. Okay. So that's how you get around the documents. You can use your scroll wheel to move around the page quite easily. We've seen how to toggle full screen. So that's most of the functionality out the way. If you do have any questions about the functionality, please feel free to put them in the chat window, because I'm going to mainly focus on the content now, just so we can get through a bit more. But yeah, we have all of those videos on the website as well, and hopefully they should really help you learn how to move around these collections. So I've clicked into the Explore tab here, and I want to come into this, which is the History of America in 100 Documents. Now, if any of you teach American history or teach African American history, or even just 20th century world history, this particular resource is going to be really useful for you, the History of America in 100 Documents. It's great, especially for lower level researchers. You can filter by theme at the top here. So let's choose African American history, and then we've worked with an academic editorial board as well as scholars linked with the Gilder Lehrman Institute to curate an exhibition of specific documents that we've picked out from the resource and really shine a key light on, key individuals, key moments and themes across this 600-700 year span. And so this is what I wanted to show you here. So we've seen a report from the NAACP, big legislative, national level campaigning. Now this is actually a scrap of paper from Booker T. Washington, who was really key in helping organise, I suppose, the self-help local level activism and sort of community relations in various African American neighbourhoods in the sort of mid 20th century. So I wanted to show this as it's actually, just scroll down here. These are actually notes from the Atlanta Compromise, sort of rough notes made before he formulated that key speech. So we have a little bit of blurb written by one of our academic editors, as well as the document itself, which you can scroll over. We can read a bit of the blurb, and we can also view that full document in the document viewer, as we saw before as well, actually within the resource itself rather than just the feature. So I think that's really interesting, and it gives a really new perspective to an extremely famous speech, which all levels of students who are studying civil rights will learn about, and this particular document really gives it a human edge. It gives it a hand. It gives it scribbles, mistakes. It shows his sort of hurried writing, and it gives him personality. It gives that speech personality and voice, I think. So there we are. That's notes from Booker T. Washington before his Atlanta Compromise speech. Now I just want to show you a quick image from the image gallery as well. So there's obviously a lot of visual material in this resource. So what we do is take out that visual material and copy it across. So it is in the main documents list, but we also copy it across and have it in a separate image gallery, which is great for if you're looking for images for your classroom, to put on a Blackboard page, to use in the classroom to get your students interested. The image gallery is going to be great for that. So if we make, just want to look up. So you can see a lot of portraits of Frederick Douglass, but I just wanted to show this sort of mural, this piece of artwork. So turn of the century, you can see in the metadata here, 1897. I'm just going to toggle this full screen. So I just thought this was a really interesting sort of piece of artwork, sort of showing the history and the struggles of African American people on the American continent. Everything that's got small text, we really do make sure that the scans are good quality, so we can zoom right in and read that if we need to. Okay, so that's a really quick tour around some of the visual material, an NAACP report, and also some rough notes from Booker T. Washington as well. I'm conscious of time, so we're going to move on from American history now, but I really do, this was a huge project we undertook, and it is an extremely useful resource for all levels of students, particularly studying from mid to late colonial through to the end of the Second World War. Really, it's a really rich resource for that period. So now we're going to move across to, let's get rid of that. We're going to move across to popular culture now. If it wants to load. There we go. So we've looked at some early 20th century material. Now let's focus on when the civil rights movement really kicks off in the 1960s, and this is what popular culture really focuses on. A lot of material here on Black Power and the Black Panther movements, student activism to do with civil rights, as well as some really interesting government material from the British government on these various sort of social movements. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to run a search here in the top right hand corner. I'm going to run a search for Black Power. So we can see here all UK government files. I just wanted to show this. So this is a report sourced from the National Archives in the UK, and it's a Foreign Office file written on, the theme of the report is Black Power in Britain. We've seen organisational, pro civil rights organisation material, and we also have a lot of government materials focusing on these issues as well. So it's particularly mainly British government material. So interesting to get those two perspectives. So I'm just going to toggle that full screen so we can read this start of this report. And I should say as well that all the printed text in all of our resources is full text searchable as well. Okay, so we're going to watch a little video now. We also have a lot of film material in popular culture in Britain and America. So I just wanted to show you a short video. So we have a video tab at the top here. I'm going to run a search for Washington. So you can see here, this is a video from ITM, and looking at the Civil Rights March on New York and Washington DC, 30th of August '63. So there's a lot of video material here on civil rights marches, on protests and clashes with authority. So it's really interesting to approach this resource comparatively and look at the British government material, look at that material from authorities, and compare that to the the video materials, the student newspapers, the underground press material that we have in this resource. So I'm just going to play this video now. Again, this is the March on Washington DC in 1963. There's no sound, unfortunately. Okay, so let's close that now. Yeah, if you watch the recording or if you have access to the resource, I really do encourage you to come and look at some of this video material. Or if you don't have access, let us know either in the chat window or via email when we send you the recording, and we can absolutely set up a trial for you if this is your area of study and it's of interest to you. So that's a really quick look around popular culture. Very much similar features to American history, but focused, as we can see, on 1950 to 1975. A lot of video material. Really interesting run of documents. I'll just show you some of the different document types. So it tends to be printed material, tends to be a mix of government material as well as social protest material from the likes of Bowling Green State, UC Berkeley, and some other universities as well, which I can't quite remember, but very much focused on student protest, civil rights, second wave feminism, as well as sort of the underground press and the sort of arts and culture around the 1960s and 70s that was emerging from this sort of left-wing sort of protest base, I suppose. Okay, so that is popular culture in Britain and America. So I'm going to move across to our last resource now. So just before we start sort of looking at some documents, I'm just going to log into MyArchive here. Now, for those of you who haven't seen this before, MyArchive is a personal repository which you can use to store documents and images and pages, and save for later for other research sessions, or collate documents which your students can access as a class and use as a base for their study if they need to. So I'm actually going to click into MyArchive now. I've saved a few documents that I found earlier that I think would be good to show. So we can see here my bookshelf with all my printed material, and also where I've decided to clip material from the oral histories as well, which I'll be showing you a little bit later. But I wanted to show you this material here. So this is very much the same era as popular culture in Britain and America, but focused more on the social, political, and economic issues and fights and rights of African American communities around the United States. So this is a resource that focuses on these organisations such as the NAACP, urban leagues around the United States, labour forces set up that campaigned for better working rights for African Americans, as well as a lot of material on the social and actually medical and housing side of these people's lives as well. So I just wanted to show, this is actually a box of newspaper clippings from newspapers in Little Rock, Arkansas. Now, obviously, Little Rock was quite infamous for its race relation issues at the time. I just wanted to show this here. Now, the reason I found this particular page so interesting is it's actually a transposed clipping from the Chicago Defender with a Little Rock editorial attached on the right-hand side here, which I just found really interesting. It's quite a vast juxtaposition. So I'm just going to toggle this full screen so we can look at this. So if you have any students looking at perhaps different viewpoints or the media, or just want some primary sources around who opposed civil rights and integration of black and white people during the civil rights era, this is a great document to show these opposing voices. going to leave that here so we can read some of this editorial on the right hand side. It really is from another era. Okay, so I'm going to come out of there now. As I said before, I had saved that document to my personal repository. Now how you do that is use this little button here, as I mentioned already. Just add to my archive, and then when you come into your My Archive using the button at the top, it's going to appear there on your bookshelf. So I just wanted to show this next. So we've talked around, a lot of organisational material in here, particularly the Chicago Urban League. Now, obviously, this was Chicago was a huge hub for, these organisations that work towards the advancement of African American rights, and the Chicago Urban League was one of these, and campaigned for better housing, for better labour conditions for these people. And we can see here all the metadata. And I just wanted to show this here. This isn't necessarily focusing on the labour rights of these people, but interestingly, it's a pamphlet which focuses on the health of African American people. Educating people. Maybe there are a lot of communities where there's we can see from the material in this collection, encouraging people to go to their doctor if they have certain symptoms, or that their children have of certain illnesses. And these pamphlets were distributed to educate people on new diseases, or diseases that maybe they hadn't come across before. So it's quite interesting to, this focus on just the social side of medicine. So there we are. A few public health pamphlets there. Let's head back to my archive. And I want to show this here. Now the Messenger was, we've looked at, I've mentioned some of the labour history, or sort of working history material in the Chicago Urban League records, St. Louis Urban League records as well as the material focusing on people's health and people's well-being. There's also some really interesting runs of magazines and articles which focus on the advancement of African American individuals in the arts and culture scene as well. And the Messenger was actually was a publication that sought to do that. Really was advanced African American people in literature, poetry, art, and this really was sort of a key publication for big sort of writers at the time. So if we just zoom in, we can have a look at some of the table of contents, some of the content in this particular issue. So I should also mention, as before, really extensive image gallery, which I'll just give you a quick preview of. Okay, so yeah, image gallery here. If you want to save any of these, all you need to do is click the little tick boxes, and then you can either export your selection to PDF or add them to your personal repository. Easy as that. A lot of visual material in this resource, particularly photograph collections, cartoons out of magazines, maps of housing project plans, that sort of thing. But I just want to, just before we finish up today, I just want to show you some of the oral histories as well. And this is a really big part of this collection, as well as the organisational material we've seen, public health, some of the cultural and arts, printed material. We also have two really sort of extensive oral history collections as well. I just want to show you around these a little bit. So if we find an interview that looks of interest to us, we can click into it. Now this is the oral history page. All of our oral histories are transcribed, which means that when you run a search, it will also search the transcripts and the metadata, which you can see here, and the metadata. And if your search hits anything in this transcript or metadata for this oral history, it will appear. So you can see here that Billy Taylor, who's a gentleman here, was an American jazz pianist, and reflects on his career and sort of playing under key musicians such as Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker. So I'm just going to play this a little bit. So we can either pull it out into the large scale viewer here, but we can also move back to the transcript. Now we can actually just play the video. As you play the video, the transcript will auto scroll and show you where you are. But if you feel like you need to, if you maybe looking through the transcript and you see a part that looks of interest to you, you can just use the time codes here to move through to that part of the interview, and you're going to be able to view this little section here. So there we are. If you watch this in your own time, request a free trial to move around this resource a little bit, you'll be able to watch these with the sound. Unfortunately, technology doesn't allow us to do that right now. So that's that. Again, we can move through here. We can actually search the transcript as well. So if we find someone of note who is of interesting, and we want to see if they're talking about something, we can search that transcript. If we do, let's maybe find Robeson. Search for Robeson. And then at the bottom here, we're going to be able to see in the time code of the video where that search result appears. And we're able to click each of those and play the video from that point. So there we are. We can run searches on the transcript of the video and just click into the little segments where our search result appears in the video. And that is that. I'm afraid that's all we really got time